Hey guys, let's get more news about Warriors, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Warriors top guy on trade list named. Jimmy Butler has listed the Golden State Warriors as one of the 4 teams he would want to play next. However, the interest isn't mutual. According to Mark Spears of Anscape, the Warriors are looking past the disgruntled Miami Heat star in the trade market, with the Chicago Bulls center Nikola Vucevic emerging as their top trade target. I'm hearing that the Warriors literally want to go bigger than Jimmy Butler, and what I mean by that is they're one of the most undersized teams in the league, Spears said on the January 7th episode of the NBA Today on ESPN. So they're trying to get a big guy to go alongside Draymond Green. People on their list include Nikola Vucevic, who has probably been the top guy on that list. Keep an eye on some guys like Walker Kessler and John Collins with the Utah Jazz. Jonas Valanciunas with the Washington Wizards. Jusuf Nurkic, I can't see him and Draymond playing together. Maybe a bigger wish is Miles Turner, who will be an unrestricted free agent. The Warriors have one of the smallest front lines in the league, with no player taller than 6'9" in their current rotation. They have a pair of 6'9" traditional centers, Tracy Jackson-Davis and Kevin Looney, and then there is the 6'6" Draymond Green, who also plays small ball center, especially in the lineups with both Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga. The 6'10" Vucevic is a 2-time NBA All-Star center who can stretch the floor. Stephen Curry hasn't played with a center like Vucevic, who can post up and play on the perimeter. The 34-year-old Bulls center is having the best three-point shooting season of his career, hitting a remarkable 42.4% from behind the arc while averaging 20.5 points, 10.2 rebounds, and 3.3 assists. However, Vucevic is a liability on defense, especially on pick and rolls. But Green's presence could mitigate that. The cost of trading for the Bulls' big man is also more cost-effective than an all-in trade for Butler, which means giving up both Kuminga and Wiggins. Vucevic is only earning $20 million this season and is owed $21.4 million next season as part of his 3-year, $60 million extension he signed in 2023. Meanwhile, Butler is due for $48.7 million this season and is seeking a 2-year extension that would pay him more than $50 million annually. While Vucevic can provide them with an inside-outside threat, there is also a strong case for Butler as a ceiling raiser for this Warriors team, who are in the final years of Curry's window to contend. Unlike the Bulls' big man, Butler is a proven playoff performer. He's a better player defensively than Kuminga and a more polished offensive player than Wiggins. 5 non-Jimmy Butler Warriors trade scenarios to help Stephen Curry. The days of the Golden State Warriors dominating the Western Conference are no more. With roughly 4 weeks until the NBA trade deadline, the Warriors are expected to be one of the more active teams trying to bolster their roster next to Stephen Curry after seeing their 12-3 start to the year become an 18-18 record. There is no hiding the fact that the Dubs aren't the same lethal team they once were. Curry still looks like an all-NBA performer at 36 years old, but the offensive struggles that exist for Golden State are alarming. In fact, this team now ranks in the bottom half of team offensive rating and bottom 7 in team field goal percentage. If the Warriors are to flip their season around and become a threat once more in the West playoff picture, then they are going to have to search the trade market for more talent other than just adding Dennis Schroeder a few weeks back. With expiring contracts, young talents, and draft capital, there is a path for the Dubs to pursue a few key names before the trade deadline. Whether or not Mike Dunleavy Jr. and Joe Lacob will truly part ways with the young assets on this roster and their future draft picks, knowing that Curry is nearing the end of his career, is the major question many around the league are searching for an answer to. No matter what the February 6th trade deadline shapes up to look like, the Warriors have maintained the same mindset they held this past offseason regarding the team's overall financial situation: maintain flexibility to pursue another star. That is why Paul George and Lauri Markkanen were 2 of the team's primary trade targets over the summer. Although this organization needs and wants another star, there isn't a clear path to adding one before the trade deadline. Brandon Ingram and Zach LaVine aren't on the Warriors' wish list, nor is Zion Williamson. Mutual interest exists between Jimmy Butler and the Warriors, yet there isn't a realistic path for him to be paired with Curry and Draymond Green from a financial perspective. The only moves that Golden State can make before the trade deadline are to add depth and key secondary talent, since they hold no interest in trading Andrew Wiggins. Not to mention, there still isn't a sense that the Warriors want to part ways with Jonathan Kuminga, which eliminates all equations for adding a sure-thing second-in-command type of player next to Curry. So, who is available, and who could the Warriors look to add before the trade deadline based on recent rumors? Here are 5 trades for Golden State to consider. Warriors' desperation could force them to stump up steeper price for 2x All-Star. There were issues aplenty for the Golden State Warriors on Sunday against the Sacramento Kings, having struggled on both sides of the ball in a blowout 129-99 loss to their Pacific rival. It's the offensive end that's a far more pressing concern right now though, with the Warriors set to spend at least the next 3 weeks without their second leading scorer in Jonathan Kuminga. Even despite Kuminga bursting out into a near 25-point scorer in the 6 games prior to his injury, Golden State have held one of the worst offenses in the league for a significant period since the start of December. There are now even greater concerns on how the Warriors will cope offensively over the next month, with the potential of those concerns growing into an urgency level that could only be addressed by an imminent trade. Currently viewed as unlikely to take a risk on 6x All-Star Jimmy Butler, Golden State's best option right now might be Chicago Bulls big man Nikola Vucevic. The Athletic's Anthony Slater, Marcus Thompson II and Sam Amick reported the Warriors' interest in the 2x All-Star on Saturday, with Vucevic currently averaging 20.5 points, 10.2 rebounds, and 3.3 assists on 42.4% three-point shooting so far this season. Furthering on from their report, Slater and Thompson discussed Vucevic on the latest episode of the Warriors Plus Minus podcast, and specifically whether the front office should pay up more now as opposed to waiting till the final hours before the deadline. Do you think the urgency of this moment, this 3-week period, this time means that you should fast forward it enough to where you're going to give up a first instead of waiting and giving up a second? Slater questioned. There's a very strong argument for both sides. Golden State could give up a first-round pick now, acquire Vucevic who fits a clear need, and perhaps keep their head above water before Kuminga's return, then see what kind of run they could go on over the remainder of the season. The other side is that you could wait until February 5th or 6th where you may only have to give up a couple of second-round picks, or alternatively in the meantime a star or more desirable trade target becomes available in the next month. There's no guarantee in either scenario. Trading for Vucevic in the next week should make the Warriors instantly better, but we also thought that about Dennis Schroeder when he was acquired 3 weeks ago. There's no guarantee that Chicago would accept just second-round draft capital at the deadline either, or that a more attractive trade target becomes available. These are the questions the Golden State front office are currently facing, but one thing is for sure, the longer the team remains in a state of mediocrity, the quicker Warrior fans will lose patience with this current direction. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Nikola Vucevic? Leave your opinion in the comments.